NCTV45, The Train, anytime on your time.
It could be you, it could be me, it could be everything we see. Given the day, given the time, given the moment. It could be you, it could be me, it could be everything we see. Given the day, given the time, given the moment. Some of it comes.
Yeah. Well, he can.
Hi, and welcome again to Gentleman's Monthly. And we have an interesting treat for you today. And we were just talking as the camera came on, because how many times have you gone past that stone mansion, going up the hill right in front of the Historical Society? I bet everybody here has gone past it hundreds of times. Well, I have Joe Googe. I want to make sure I say that right.
That's right.
Owner of the Stone Mansion. It's going to be called the Firefox Mansion. FoxFire Mansion.
Yeah.
I knew I have to mess something up.
That's right.
And he's going to tell us a lot about it, and there's going to be tours. So welcome, Joe.
Thank you.
I appreciate it. I appreciate you coming in. And let's talk a little bit about the mansion. When did you purchase it?
We purchased it in late 2010.
Okay. Now, it's just the beauty and architecture in Newcastle is phenomenal. Why don't you tell us, when was it built?
I've seen two different dates, either 1892 or 1896. And so I'm not sure which is the actual date, but the house is about 125 or 30 years old.
Wow. That is unbelievable. Now, who was the original owner?
The house was built for Leander Rainey and his wife, and they had two children that lived in the house originally.
I bet that's a chore cutting that grass.
It is. The hillside's a little bit of a challenge, yes.
Because it slopes down, and I'm just thinking of kids playing on the hillside.
Yeah.
Get a good sled ride.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah.
Now, you know, the house is just, it's an enchanting piece to look at. Originally, how big was it? How many bedrooms?
They had originally 5 bedrooms on the second floor, and there would have been servants' quarters up on the third floor in the back side of it.
Okay.
Where there would have been a couple more bedrooms where they would have stayed.
Wow. Just phenomenal. Now, what did Mr. Rainey do?
He was in the steel industry and the banking industry in Newcastle, and he also had a grist mill in town. And his family is originally from Mahoningtown and some out towards Edinburgh area.
Okay, so he moved into town, and that's so at that point in time in the 1890s, people were beginning to move up the hill.
Right.
Okay, because the town had really originally started on Long Avenue. You know, for those people that don't really know that type of thing. Now, you have quite a bit going on at the house. What are some of the things you had to do? I understand there was a fire there.
Right. There was a fire in 1998, and the house has sat empty from 1998 until now, that when we're working on it. When we bought the place, it had just been closed up. Prior to us owning it, it was a personal care home, and when they closed it up, they left, and there was the beds in there, people's clothes, shoes, everything in the closets, and all of that had to be cleaned out. So our big chore has been to clean the house out and get it back to our intention is to get it back to what the original integrity of the house was. So there's been renovations over the years, and we've kind of just been peeling off layers of renovations, and we have it now down to what were the original rooms in the house.
Now, I'm going to ask you about that. When the fire was, as I see the picture, it looked like the flames were shooting out the windows, and
Yes.
it
It was a bad fire, but I have to tell you that the fire department, in my opinion, did a really good job getting that fire out, and with really minimal damage for the size of fire that it was. They deserve some credit for that.
wow. Now, it's just phenomenal when I think about, was it something else in between the time that it was a residence and a senior care home?
Yeah, it was originally built for Leander Rainey and his family, and then he lived there, he and his family lived there until 1907. At that point, it was sold to Dave Jameson of Jameson Hospital. Their family lived in it until 1941, and then it was converted into the dormitory for the nursing students at the hospital. It was the dormitory for the nursing students until 1964. At that point, it was the sorority house for Newcastle Business College until the late 70s, and then there's a couple years in there, I don't know exactly when things started or ended, but then it became the personal care home, and Fred Chaffee owned it at that point. And then he owned it up until the fire in 1998.
Okay, now when we come back, we're going to talk about, we've talked about what it was, but the future plans and moving forward, and there's some information on tours and so much more right after we hear from these great sponsors.
Gentlemen, if you want to look your best with high-quality clothing, then I recommend Main Street Clothiers and Custom Tailors in downtown Newcastle. Mike Caggiano is the owner, and he and his staff have been in the business for decades, and they will always give you the right recommendations. They also carry Rondinelli tuxedos. That's Main Street Clothiers and Custom Tailors, 210 East Washington Street, downtown Newcastle. Call 724-652-3851. Not one, not two, not three, but Four Brothers Urban Bistro. It's where you want to go for your next dining experience. Here are just a few of the many choices on the menu. Char-grilled filet mignon, char-grilled salmon filet, chicken over rice, Icelandic cod, chicken marsala, and ask about the saku tuna, veal, and the surf and turf. Follow them on Twitter and Facebook for daily specials. Hours are Monday through Thursday 11 to 10, Friday 11 to 11, and Saturday 4 to 11. Four Brothers, located 331 East Washington Street, downtown Newcastle. Call 724-656-4980.
Peppers, mouth-watering fruit, fine dressings, apples, meats. This place looks so familiar. Everyone in Newcastle has to know about it. Yes, it reminds you of when you were growing up, right in downtown Newcastle. Look at those fine lunch meats and ethnic foods. Yes, it's Joseph's. Hi, and welcome back, and we're talking with Joe on the mansion that everybody knows about, and I'm going to call it the FoxFire Mansion, and it was owned originally by
Leander Rainey, yeah.
Leander Rainey, and then Jameson, who would have been of Jameson Hospital fame, and now by Joe. Now, Joe, we talked about the fire that was there, and you said that the fire department did a great job in preserving it. How much restoration, what were the steps you had to do? We'll talk about the tours and everything in our next segment, but how did you get it to this point? What did you have to do?
Well, it was really, the first part of it was just to get everything out of there that wasn't original. And so we had to try and figure out what was original and what wasn't. Some of the later renovations that were done when it was a personal care home. That was pretty easy to tell because it had modern materials, drywall, and the framing and so forth was standard and so forth. That was pretty easy to tell. But when we got back down to when Jameson did his first renovation to make it the dormitory for the nursing students, that was hard because it was so long ago that they still used some of the original materials, and they did a really good job. They matched up the woodwork, the doors were all the same, the hardware was all the same, but the only way we really knew was when we tore down the ceilings and so forth, because a lot of the plaster had been damaged and so forth. You could see where load-bearing walls were, and it's just a big puzzle to put it back to what it originally was. So we just tore out layer after layer. And for example, like in the main foyer in the hallway on the first floor, there were 5 layers of flooring that we removed. They just put one over top of the other. And when we got down to the bottom layer, it was parquet wood floor with inlaid border and so forth, but it had been damaged too badly, so we had to take it out. But they do have companies that make stuff very similar, so we'll put back in what we can find that's as close to what was original.
Wow.
Yeah.
Now, for those wondering, about the facade as opposed to the inside of the house, were there any portions of the inside of the house where you actually saw that stone?
They had, originally, you would not have seen any of the stonework that you see on the outside on the inside, and you still don't. It's all, the house is built where you have framing on the inside, then you have brick wall, and then on the outside of the brick is the stone exterior that you see as you drive by.
Where did they get all that? That's a big house, and that's a lot of stones.
Yeah, I don't know where they got the stone, to be honest with you, but it's very, the detail on it and, the style of the house is just very unique, and it's one of a kind for sure.
Now, with the property, it slopes down. There was there a garage behind it, or?
There was a garage. The house never had its own carriage house, but there's a carriage house that sits down the hill just a little bit.
Right.
But what we think, and I don't know this for sure, was that was a shared carriage house with the Patterson house that's back behind along Mercer Street.
Okay.
There are 2 the front sidewalk goes down to it, and then in the back of the house there's a sidewalk that goes down the hill to that carriage house.
Okay, so in other words, at that time, the owner still used a horse and buggy.
Correct.
And they didn't have the cars.
Right.
Okay. That's kind of interesting. Now, when we get back, we're going to talk about tours. And I understand you have some tours
That's right.
going on and some things along those lines. And what utilization the house will be for, how people can do other things with it. So
Yes.
let's take this break, and we'll be right back after we hear a word from our sponsors. Town and Country, where there's always a party. Yes, every weekend there's something to do, and there's always great food for you too. Lamb, finger food, steak sandwiches, roasted wings, and much, much more. It's a party, and you're invited. Come to Town and Country. Wow, yes, it's fun to go to the Y, and now with great affordable rates, it's more swimming, more exercise, more family time. The YMCA in downtown Newcastle, or the Y Zone on Eleanor Drive in Shannon Township, welcomes you to a variety of programs, exercise, and fun events. The Gathering Banquet Center, an event center located at 2552 Ben Franklin Highway, is the right place for your event. many buffet dinner packages to choose from, and it makes any event special and elegant. Call 724-652-1149 and let Gatherings serve you.
The Cedars restaurant in Newcastle wants you to indulge in the food from their pleasing menu. The Cedars features Mediterranean, pub food, Middle Eastern cuisine, and so much more. They're open every day 11 a.m. to 10 p.m. Call the Cedars on the east side at 827 Addis Street, Newcastle. 724-658-9543. That's 724-658-9543.
Funding for this program provided by Washington Center Physical Therapy, Norm A. Gabriel, MSPT, ATC owner. Welcome back, and now we're going to talk a little bit about tours of the mansion, the FoxFire mansion, and when things are going to be available. So why don't you tell us a little bit about touring the mansion and what's involved and when it takes place?
Sure. First of all, the mansion is anything but complete. We have it down to what I'm going to say is like the bare bones of what originally was there, and now we can start to rebuild. But we've had so many people ask us, what's going on, and can we go in and see it, and so forth. So we decided to offer the tours. And we had in October fall tour of homes. There were 7 homes, including ours in the cathedral, and that day we had, I think we sold 170 tickets or so, but I think there were more like 200 people that went through that day. So after that, we started fall tours, and those have just ended. But we're going to start to we're transitioning now from fall to Christmas, and we're going to start tours back up again on November 18th. They'll be on Friday and Saturday evenings, starting at 6:30. And they usually, I originally had planned that they would last about an hour, but people ask a lot of questions, and they've been taking an hour and a half, and the longest one has been almost 2 hours. So people are very receptive. They like it.
Now, is there a basement in the place I just had?
There is a basement, yes.
Okay. I didn't ask that in the other 2 segments. And
Yeah.
I thought, well, geez.
Yeah, it's a full basement. There's actually the original kitchen that the servants cooked in was in the basement.
Wow.
And there still is the open hearth brick oven and so forth down there that needs a lot of work. We're going to repair it, though.
That is fascinating.
Mhm.
So, if they want to go on a tour, how do they get in contact with you?
They can call our number. It's 724-651-8130.
Okay. And the first tour is coming up on the 18th.
The 18th of November. Yeah.
When is the projected time that the mansion will be done?
We're hoping that by next year at this time we'll have the entire outside complete and at least some of the rooms inside done, but I'm not sure exactly how far we'll get. But it's 12,000 square feet, and I'm doing a lot of the work myself. I've hired other people to do some things, but I've just kind of learned that if it's going to get done right, then I need to be there. So I'm there overseeing whatever's being done.
Well, this was a very fascinating conversation, and I wish it best. I'm glad we could put this out and tell the people in Newcastle and people in the surrounding communities about something great. Now, it's going to be used for an event
Center.
center.
It'll be open for anything. I mean, people can, most people think weddings, and we'll do that there. But if, a group wants to get together and have a anniversary dinner or bridal shower, reunions, business luncheons, meetings, whatever, it'll be open for that.
That'll be tremendous. We look forward to Joe taking a tour and seeing the facility restored to its elegance and stature. I want to thank you for
thank you very
stopping
much.
by,
Mhm.
and I want to thank you at home for joining us on this Gentleman's Monthly. Thanks, and until next time, this is NCTV45.